graduation, he became a U.S. missionary and has accepted a position with Dr. Earl Krebs and a part of the church planting team in Berkeley, California. And if I'm not mistaken, you are just days away from marrying your best friend, Erica. Would you stand? We'd want to welcome you as well. And she quickly becomes a pastor's wife and a missionary's wife. So why don't you put your hands together? Let's welcome Jeff Sandstrom to our campus chapel.
So he grabbed me by the arm, looked me square in the eye, and he said, "If you ever come back here and you don't tell us, we're going to come looking for you, and you don't want that." Doug, you're absolutely right. This is my wife-to-be. She has been my best friend for the past 6.5 years, my girlfriend for about a year, and fiance for about 6 months, and will be my wife in 10 days, 6 hours, and 30 minutes. Not that anybody's counting, though. So I know you saw her, and then you saw me, and you're thinking, what is she doing with him? I still have no idea. I just love God. That's all I can say. I love God, and this is what happens, so thank you, Jesus. So there's this boy, and this boy wants to be an entrepreneur ever since he's little. So while in school, he starts selling pot. True story. And except it's not really pot. It's pencil shavings, because he can't afford to buy real marijuana. And so he's going to get a profit and sell this pot to these rich white kids that go to his school, and they're too ignorant to know what's real drugs, so they're going to tell him that it's the best stuff they've ever had, because they've probably never actually tried it. And so after selling pencil shavings and slamming a kid's head in a locker until it bleeds and bringing weapons to school, this kid is finally kicked out of school. Time passes, he finally graduates, and decides he's going to move to Hollywood, Los Angeles, California, where he's going to pursue this career in acting and modeling and do all this stuff that he thinks he wants to do. And at the end of a long summer, he'll be drunk for the very first time and hear so evident in his life that God is calling him out of darkness into the glorious light. And this glorious light is called Central Bible College. Yes, the same one that's down the street. You're right. This is the place that's the holy of holies. Only the best of the best go here. Thank you. At least this is what he's thinking. And as he makes his journey with his best friend to go to Central Bible College, he knows it's only a matter of time before people find out who he really is, and he's kicked out. Scared to death, the opposite actually happens. His first year, he's elected freshman class president. What? Does that even make sense? No. But what doesn't make any sense even more so is that the next year, he's reelected as sophomore class president. And then by my junior and senior year, I'll be president of the student body and being way over my head. And so senior year comes along, and it's tradition to have this thing called leadership retreat. We try to get this really, really good speaker to come and speak, because the entire retreat rests on the speaker. And so we get a hold of Doug Clay. And we say, would you be willing to come? Oh, yeah, I'd love to and everything. Only to get a call months later from his administrative assistant to say, you know what, I don't know how we did this, but we've double booked Doug for the same day. He can't be there. And I think to myself, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Now, I asked his permission. He said it's okay to share that. And I can do that so because now he's a supporter of us and it gives to us and he's awesome and totally believes in what we're doing. And, ever since we went to Hong Kong and I told him, if I close my eyes and listen to you speak, you sound just like Michael Scott from The Office. That's not even the funny part. He said, you wouldn't believe how many people tell me that. So in a moment of not knowing what to do, my friend who's with me says, you need to get Earl Krebs. That guy is awesome. He's got 2 doctorates. He's in charge of the doctoral program at AGTS. He's phenomenal. You remind me of him. You guys would get along great. I'm thinking, wow, okay, if this guy's so great, we'll see. So, through communication, we get a hold of him and says, hey, there's this going on if you'd like to be a part. Oh, yeah. Love to be a part of your leadership retreat. Oh, great. Administration at CBC is baffled. You got who? Earl Krebs, the Earl Krebs? We're going to have to up the honorarium. So, what is the big deal? Why is everybody acting like this guy is some sort of celebrity? And then I found out why. Meeting with him at the Starbucks on Sunshine, he walks in with his cool Rob Bell glasses before anybody else had them in this leather jacket, and he sits down, and he says, hi, I'm Earl Krebs. And I was like, now I know, this guy just radiates with coolness. I mean, he's twice my age, but he's awesome. And so we start talking and all this, and he knows that he comes and does the retreat, does a bang-up job. Everything is awesome. And at the end of the retreat, he comes to me as I hand him this big honorarium, and he says, we've asked around, and we know that you have a few offers to be a youth pastor at some mega churches across the country. And if you want to do that and be safe, that's okay. I'm sorry? He says, if you want to do that and be safe, that's okay. But if you want to do something dangerous and come plant a church with us in Berkeley, California, we would be honored to have you. No interview necessary. And for the first time, I have my future sitting in my own hands to make a decision. How do I respond to a question like that? So there he is. He stands on this huge mound, as we call it. Probably dirt in his toenails and the sandals and his man dress as he wears it. And as the Son of the living God closes probably one of the most profound sermons ever heard in life itself, he closes it like this. Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction. And those who enter by it are many, for the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life. And those who find it are few. What an odd way to end a sermon. Image number 1, gate. Jesus wants to know, he wants us to know that there's a gate. And so I drive to Berkeley, California, and talking to Earl on the way, and he says, oh, take your time. Don't drive more than 8 hours a day, and take the long way. See the world. Have you ever been to Vegas before? Oh, yeah, you need to see Vegas. You need to go there, and you need to stay on the Strip. It's a great time. Is this a test? Does he realize that I'm a single 24-year-old heterosexual male? No, I've never been to Vegas. And you want me to go there and stay there? He's my boss, so I take him up on his offer. He says, oh, yeah, go to Vegas and, stay away from drugs, prostitution, and gambling, but see the lights and eat the food. You'll have a great time. And then we'll figure everything out once you get here. So I do. I go to Vegas. He's right. It's a great time. So much fun. stay away from the things I'm supposed to, and eat the food. The food, he's right, the food is great. And go from Vegas to the Grand Canyon, start hiking the Grand Canyon. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm starting to think to myself, okay, this guy is either completely off of his nut, or he's the greatest boss in the world. One of the two, I'm not sure. So I finally get to Berkeley, California. It's kind of late at night. He welcomes me into this house. Any of you that know Earl and have been to his dream home here in the Ozarks, it gets him this tiny bungalow out in Berkeley, California. So I walk into this shack of a house, and there's a few people there to greet me, and I'm so exhausted, I pass out on his couch. And this happens for probably about a week straight. I'm just sleeping on this guy's couch. I don't even know if I know him that well. I've just graduated. I'm in a whole new world. Southern California is completely different from Northern California. Those of you know what I'm talking about. Thank you. And so after sleeping on his couch for about a week, I start to take initiative and go online and find out the average apartment in Berkeley, California is $2,000 a month for a one-bedroom. That could pay some of your mortgages. I'm not prepared for this. And so I do what any kid my age would, and I jump on Craigslist, and I punch in the search engine $500 to $1,000 and see what comes up. Enough for me to be busy for about 3 days straight, having about 8 appointments for each day. So I go to all these places to check them out, and they're all crack houses. I remember this one place I went to. It looked like this abandoned building. For those of you who went to CBC, it looked like Welch, but 10 times worse before it was remodeled. This is terrible. I go to this place, there's 10 bedrooms, guys and girls living in each one of them, and everybody shares one bathroom. And this bathroom looks like there were 2 abortions done in it last week. And they want $900 a month, and they think it's a steal. This is the place I'm going to be living, in Berkeley, California. And I'm pretty sure that Bubba next door just broke out of prison, and the lock on my door doesn't even work. I'm thinking, I'm a little guy. You can see that. I'm scared for my life. I can't live like this. And so I go to all these appointments. Some are better than others, but they're all pretty much the same. They're all crack houses. And I get to the bottom of the list and call one more person. He says, yeah, my name's Kyle. We're renting out a room in our house. We'd be glad to show it to you. We get off work at 8 o'clock. Come stop by, and we'll show you. I say, what can one more hurt, right? And so I get in my car, plug the address into the GPS. It starts taking me away from the downtown Berkeley area, and it takes me up into the hills of Berkeley that I never even knew existed. And I'm in this subdivision that looks like it's a gated community. And as I'm driving by all these houses, I feel like I'm on an episode of The OC. Those of you that have grandchildren, ask them about it. They'll tell you. And so I get to this house that's on the top of this hill called Grizzly Peak. And I'm looking at this house and its address, and the address I wrote on my hand and thinking, this can't be right. This multi-million-dollar house that sits there. I say, well, I'm here. So I ring the doorbell, and this kid about my age answers the door. His face kind of looks like the bad guy from The Incredibles, if you've seen the cartoon movie. But he's a good-looking guy. He's kind of stocky. He looks like an Evangel football player, if you can picture that. So this Evangel football player answers the door and says, yeah, can I help you? I say, yeah, I'm here to see a room that's for rent. I talked to a guy named Kyle on the phone. Maybe your dad. Is he home? The kid starts laughing at me. Says, oh, you must be Jeff. We talked earlier. I'm Kyle. This is my house. How much Botox did this guy have? So I walk in, and in a place where people are literally renting out bathtubs and walk-in closets because they can't afford their mortgage, this house has more room than any 20 people ever need. Right away, 50-foot vaulted ceilings, this winding staircase that goes upstairs and downstairs, this tri-level living room. He says, come on in, I'll introduce you to the other roommates. So we go up to this living room, this skyline coming in, these 2 guys still our age, sitting on this stretched IKEA couch, looking up this 60-inch plasma that hangs above this walk-in fireplace. Introduce myself, get to know these guys, and I think, these guys are drug dealers. Takes me upstairs to see the room, these bay windows that overlook the height of how high the house sits up on, this walk-in closet, attached bathroom. I'm thinking to myself, I misread the ad. I thought it said 700. It must be 1,700. This is amazing. Embarrassedly, I say, hey, man, I'm sorry, but I think I read your ad wrong. I've wasted your time. I thought it said 700. He goes, yeah, that's right. So what's the catch? Oh, there's no catch. And I'm telling you right now, if you want it, it's yours. Come again? Yeah, well, we've had a lot of people come look at the house, but they've all been really weird. Weirder than this? So, well, we had this frat guy from Berkeley come in, and he's just really dominant and really egotistical, and we don't want to rent to someone like that. Okay. And yesterday, we had this guy come in, and he just put his hands in his armpits the whole time, and he just yawned nonstop. It was really awkward, and we don't want to rent to someone who's awkward. Okay. Yeah, so if you want it, it's yours. All right, well, can I sleep on it? Oh, yeah, sure, take all the time you need. I go home, tell Earl, he says, you realize this is God. That is unheard of. That is not going to be around. You call that guy tomorrow morning and tell him you want to move in. Yes, sir. All right, we'll do. So I call him and say, hey, if your offer still stands, love to take you up on it. Oh, yeah, the guys are so excited to have you as a roommate coming over. We'll help you move in. Okay. Drive over that night. These guys are there to help me move every earthly possession out of my car up into this new room, and they're helping me get all set up and everything. Oh, no reason to get a bed. We've got this extra IKEA bed for you. Don't spend any money on it. Do you not have a TV? We've got this extra plasma we'll just give to you. Okay, when do I drink the Kool-Aid, Honestly, that's what I'm thinking at this point. Nobody on the West Coast is nice, and nobody goes out of their way unless... It's hyperbole, people, work with me. Nobody goes out of their way for someone unless they want something. So I start having these thoughts. These are good-looking guys. Are they gay? Do they think that I am? Do they want something from me? I'm freaking out, but I decide to say, walk in the favor of the Lord because this is the Lord providing for you. So that's exactly what I do is I get everything set up in my room, going back downstairs to get some more stuff, and Kyle says, hey, one more thing. We can't fit our trucks and SUVs into the garage because we have so much stuff. But we've pushed all this stuff to the sides so that your car will fit perfectly. If you want it, it's yours. What? Okay. So I go down this driveway that's at a 90-degree angle and give my car 7 RPMs to get up to the garage. And as it opens, it looks as if the Red Sea had been parted. And as I'm pulling in on dry land, all this stuff piled up, layered over the top of it, is nothing but porn. That's what I said. And I start freaking out, and I think to myself, I just moved into a mansion with porn stars. I'm going to lose my credentials. What am I going to do? And so sweating bullets, I rush back into the house, and point guard, I stop Kyle and say, hey, man, what do you do for a living? A lot of people don't live like you, especially for your age. And he kind of gives me this cocky smile, and he says, I own my own business. Of course you do. What is it? He says, we develop computer software for corporations, and we design websites for small businesses in the area. Thinking, oh, thank you, Jesus. He's got a moral job. He's just got a porn addiction, a really bad one at that, but I think I can deal with it. And so the 2 roommates sitting with him, they say, oh, no, he's just being modest. It's this multi-million-dollar company. Locations going up around the world. It's worldwide. I'm like, oh, that's impressive. Because, yeah, these guys are my biggest fans. They work for me. They work for the company. Oh, that's cool. One of the roommates starts to interrupt. His name's Chris. He looks like a Hollister model, if that means anything to you who have teenagers. Dark skin, froey long hair, highlighted, from San Diego, and he always sounds like he's half-baked. he says, oh, yeah, dude, I've got a semester left. I'm studying architecture here in Berkeley, and dude, it's sweet. And, I'm designing these buildings that are going up around the world. And I think to myself out loud, how old are you? He says, I'm 21, bro. 21 years old. After talking to this kid, I find out he's a trust fund baby. His dad owns one of the Major League Baseball teams. He's got all the money he's ever needed in his entire life, and he lives like he's on this strict budget. Like he just bought this brand new Silverado truck, and he won't put car insurance on it because he says that it's too expensive. That's illegal. And just put insurance on your vehicle. You have the money. But after talking with him, I find out that he's so self-conscious that people will like him for his money that he swings completely the other way. He's so afraid that people will like him for his money. He wants to make his own name for himself and not rest on mommy and daddy. This is why he's going to school to be an architect. And some sick, twisted part of me starts to respect the fact that he doesn't have car insurance. And so I start talking to the other roommate. His name's Jared. He kind of looks like the guy that does the Mac commercials. Real skinny, dark hair, that kind of, yeah, that's this kid. And I say, what do you do in the company? And he says, I travel around the state of California talking to business owners and CEOs, and I get them to invest in our products. And they get residuals from what we sell. Oh, so you're not an IT guy. That's what I'm thinking. He says, I'm one Spanish class away from getting my degree from Berkeley. And I'm 21 years old as well. 21 years old. And so I turn to the business owner and I say, Kyle, did you go to Berkeley? And he goes, yeah, I did Berkeley for a semester. Okay, what happened? Well, I dropped out. I just wasn't getting the education that I was paying for. Okay, to plant a church, you have to do research on the area. UC Berkeley is the reason we're planting this church. Last year rated the top public university in the world and the third best overall, respectively, behind Harvard and Stanford. What does this mean? He says, I was flying by the seat of my pants, passing all my classes, and I got bored. I thought I could do it better myself, so I dropped out and started my own business. And it's successful. Yeah, it is. So, you're 26, I'm 22. You're 2 years younger than me, and you own your own $1 million business. I can't relate with that even a little bit. I can't even fathom that. And so, in awe, I'm walking back up this balcony and stairwell to get back to my room to think, who am I living with? When he turns up at me and says, hey, wait a minute. We've told you what we do. What do you do? So I say, I'm a pastor. I'm sorry, did you say you're a pastor? Yeah. You don't look like a pastor. Thank you. I get that a lot. No, come down here. And so I walk down the stairs like a dog with my tail between my legs. And he looks me square in the face and says, what is it that you think you're doing here in Berkeley? So I tell him, well, we're planting a church. What? You're planting a church? He's got his choice of language, but basically says, what does that mean? I'm like, all right, the language that I've learned for the past 4 years, no one understands outside the walls of Springfield. And so I tell him, we're building a church. And so Chris, the architect, jumps in. He goes, oh, dude, sweet. You're into construction. I said, no. A church it's not a building. A church is people. And we're building one from scratch. Oh, how do you do that? Well, we move to the area, get to know people, and tell them about our vision, what we're doing. They become part of the church, and the church grows. Oh, so it's kind of like networking, what I do for my business. Okay? I move to the area, get to know the business owners, tell them about the product. They invest in the product, and the company grows. yeah, it's just like that. And so Jared, the other roommate, says, what is it that you do specifically for this church? And I tell him, well, I itinerate, but that means nothing to you. I travel around the United States, speak at colleges and churches, and even have meetings with people one-on-one and tell them about our vision. And if they believe in us and believe in our vision, they give to us. They give finances to us. And from that, they'll see people come to know Jesus Christ, which is the ultimate goal. So hold on, let me get this straight. You're telling me basically you have my job in this company? You travel around and you tell people about your product. They invest in your product. And they'll get residuals from their investments. Yeah, it's exactly what I said. The only difference is you do something different. I sell computer software and you sell Jesus? Lord, forgive me. Yeah, that's exactly right. Grabs him by the arm and says, dude, you're one of us. You're an entrepreneur. We need to stick together. It's a hard world out there. What? What just happened? I feel so lightheaded. Popcorn goes everywhere. The ESPN is still on the flat screen, and I feel like I'm dizzy. I'm like, what just? In a moment, I'm accepted into this fraternity of young professionals in Berkeley, California. I have no idea what just happened. And so we start feeling a little comfortable with each other. And so I say, hey, what are the chances we could come down and rent just a little bit? You know, this is temporary. I'm not going to be here for very long. What'd you have in mind? Anything you don't pay, I have to. Okay, good point. You said you had this maid that came by once a month and she just stopped. What if I agreed to clean the house once a month? You'd be willing to clean our house? Oh yeah, sure. You know, I'm metro and kind of OCD as it is, so I'll be picking stuff up anyway. I'll tell you what. If you vacuum once a month, I'll knock $100 off your rent. Most of the house is wood floors. Show me the dirt devil. Let's get this done. He says, I can't believe you're willing to clean our house. I've never met anybody like you before. Why don't you come to my office tomorrow? I own the third floor of the Wells Fargo building downtown. Of course you do. You're a 22-year-old dropout. You deserve it. And Jesus goes on to the second warning. He says, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will recognize them by their fruits. So every healthy tree bears good fruit, but every diseased tree or bad tree bears bad fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, you will be recognized by your fruits. So the next day I go to the Wells Fargo. I know where the bank is. I'm there. I go up to his office, knock on the door. It's like a movie. These glass and marble walls everywhere I look. And so walk into his office, he's on this Bluetooth headset and says, yeah, somebody important just walked in. I have to call you back. Hangs up the phone. I'm looking behind me. Like, who's he talking about? He says, hey, man, how you doing? How was your first night? Did you sleep okay? He's wearing ripped jeans and a black T-shirt, the CEO of this company. Sitting behind this huge glass desk with his iMac, stands up, comes over to me, gives me a hug. This is really weird. This would only happen to me. And so he takes me into this room where there's this pod of people all working on their tiny laptop computers and these big headsets. Some feel like they're speaking different languages. And he says, everyone stop working for a second. I want to introduce you to a new friend of mine. His name's Jeff. He's a good guy, so be nice to him. Yeah, what he said. He starts introducing me to some of these people one-on-one, and the only thing I can understand in their job title is the word computer. Oh, yeah. I do logistics and diagnostics for the CPU unit of the... Yeah, I have a degree from CBC. It's nice to meet you. That's how the conversations went. After seeing all this, I go home, and the other roommate, Jared, must have had the day off because it's 1 PM, and he's just waking up. Coming down the stairs, And he starts apologizing to me about the condition of the house. He says, I'm sorry, man, I'm kind of OCD too. This isn't your mess. You shouldn't have to clean it. I'll help you clean it the first time. Okay, settle down. It's cool. Go to the kitchen. It's a complete wreck. Stainless steel appliances, marble countertops, beautiful house, a wreck. Pizza boxes, empty beer bottles, chewing tobacco cases, a lot of other stuff I don't want to tell you about, but you can imagine 3 guys living in a huge house with no responsibilities. And so we start cleaning up this kitchen. We get these big, black, hefty garbage bags, because that's what 20-year-olds do when they clean, and they start throwing stuff away. We throw everything away, whether it can be salvaged or not, throwing things away for about 10 minutes straight in total silence, and he looks at me and he says, you know I'm Jewish, right? No, I didn't know that. That's cool, man. That's awesome. Oh, that's so awkward. Why is he telling me this? So we start throwing stuff away even more. And he says, well, you know, I'm not a practicing Jew. I just grew up Jewish. Oh, yeah, cool. To each his own. What's he testing me? Why is he telling me this? Oh, yeah, you met my girlfriend, Christine. She's pretty cool. Oh, yeah, great girl. I think we're going to get married. Oh, man, that's awesome. I tell him, get married. Marriage is great. It's 2 becoming 1. It's just, right, you don't understand. It's just awesome. Get married. Yeah, I think we're going to have kids right away. Oh, kids are just the joy of the earth, man. Have tons of kids. Do it all. And he looks at me and stares at me until I look back at him. He's wanting to get my attention. It feels awkward, so I look at him. And he says, we're probably going to have kids right away. And I want my kids to believe in something. And the hair in the back of my neck stands up. And everything I've learned in the past 4 years runs through my mind in a millisecond. He says, I want my kids to believe in something. What do you believe in? So the red carpet's been rolled out for me. And I do what any dumb kid my age would. And I say, well, you know, a lot of people make it about rules and rituals and religion, but really it's just about having a relationship with Jesus. I said that to a Jew. He looks at me and says, what does that mean? I have to talk to this kid like he's 5. He literally has no idea. And so I walk over to him, and we sit on this dirty kitchen floor, and I start to tell him my story. And how life hasn't gotten easier, but it's gotten better. There is one way to life, and it's through Jesus. He wasn't slain in the Spirit. He wasn't even saved that night. But he had all these questions, more questions than I had answers for. And he sees me the next morning in this glass breakfast nook, eating my Fruit Loops and reading the Bible. It overlooks the bay, of course, in this house. And he says, hey, what are you reading? What does it mean? What does that do for you? Questions like that. And at one point, he says, hey, I'm on my way to close this $500,000 deal. This could be huge for our company. Will you pray for me? Hold on a second. So you want to make this whole thing your own, but you think me praying for you will make some sort of difference? What am I, your lucky rabbit's foot? I don't say that, though. Of course, I'll pray for you. All this kind of stuff. And so Erica and I are engaged, and I fly her out to the bay so that she can see what our new life holds. And, they meet her and everything, and she leaves, and they go, wow, dude, she's really pretty. They didn't say it like that, but that's what they meant. And so I say, thank you. They're like, we want to come to your wedding. You need to invite us. We'll make a road trip to Chicago. It'll be the most fun we've ever had. Are you serious? Oh, yeah, we're serious. Okay. And so time goes by, and, months go by. I'm packing up to come back here to the Midwest to get married and to itinerate and this kind of a thing. And they say, hey, we're going to miss you. Oh, I'm going to miss you too. Give everybody a hug, goodbye. And I'm loading everything in my car, getting ready to leave. And Kyle, acting like my older brother, even though he's younger than me, grabs me by the arm and he says, hey, one more thing. When you come back here to Berkeley to plant this church that you talk about, you have to tell us about it because we want to be a part of it. Me and the guys were talking, and we've decided that you've invested in us, and we want to invest in you. We've never met anyone like you before. We've tried to do church, but everybody's either been really crazy, hanging from chandeliers, or extremely judgmental of our lifestyle. And you don't seem like any of that. We know that what you're going to do is going to be huge, and we want to be in the front row to tell us when, where, and how often, and we'll be there. Okay. What did God just do here? So as I turn to leave, he grabs me by the arm, and he looks at me, and he says, if you come back here and you don't tell us, we're going to come looking for you. And you don't want that. And so I smile, get in the car, and start driving, and think to myself, nobody ever said this, but I think Earl had this planned all along, that he wants this church to be modeled after a Back to the Future film. And in this film, he plays a 2010 version of The Doc, which leaves me with Marty McFly. And so as I'm driving through Hollywood to come back here, I have this thought, and I think to myself, this flashback of when I first got to Berkeley, I'm sleeping on Earl's couch, and we would go to the university, and I would look around, and I would think, God, what the heck am I doing here? I don't belong here. I can feel this force field of intellect around me. I feel completely inadequate. I can't do this. If this is you, then you have to show me, because I can't do this. I'm in way over my head. If you've really called me to this, please help me. And then a week later, I move into this mini Playboy mansion with these people who eventually will become Christ followers, and it is absolutely ridiculous. So in all this, I just want to say we're here today to tell you about what God is doing, because God is alive. And Jesus is real, and he wants to save every single soul before he comes back, and he's giving us opportunity to do so. And like walking through a narrow gate, wanting to bear good fruit, I'm doing everything I know how to in order to make this happen. But I can't do this alone. I need the help of people just like you. So part of the reason we're here today is to ask if you think that God has impressed on any one of your hearts to help send us back to the future. Please pray about it and talk to us, because we can't go back without your help. And these guys are waiting for us. Thank you so much. Would you bow your heads as Doug Clay comes to close us out?
Thanks, Jeff. I'm going to ask you and Erica, if you would, just find your way to the atrium or the lobby there, and I know several of you would like to affirm him in various ways, just through your encouraging word, or through your support financially and all of that. But, this is a living representation this morning that A, God calls people, B, God provides, and we have the opportunity to partner with that. And so, Lord, I thank you today for giving us a visual representation and a reminder that you are selecting and choosing people to go and to build your kingdom around the world. We thank you for Jeff. We thank you for his fiance and their future life together. And I pray, Lord, as they continue to say yes and walk in obedience, that you would provide supernaturally along the way. So we ask for your favor to be upon them, and to whatever degree we come alongside and make that happen, may we be obedient as well. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen. God bless you. Make a great day, and please express your love to the Sandstroms.